Hey everybody, Jennifer with Scrapping Under the Influence. I am here with my project for the Country Craft Creations New Year's Eve crop. So what I have for you is a little desk calendar that stands up and has a little storage pocket on the front. Super, super easy. I did the tutorial. I used Simple Stories Best Year Ever from last year that clearly I never opened in 2020 for obvious reasons. For the tutorial, and then I actually ended up making a second one using some of the leftover dinosaur paper from my dinosaur folio a couple of months ago. Like I said, super easy, really sturdy. We've got this nice little pocket down here. You can store, you know, pens, Post-its, whatever in that, and it's wide enough and it's deep enough that you can put stuff in there but still access your calendar. So the months just flip right over onto the back like so. These are rings from the Graphic 45 tags that the big ones always come with these bigger rings, and I literally never use them with the tags, so I have a whole bunch of these hanging around. If you don't have any, you know, if you've got just normal binder rings, these are really big, so my hole is down about an inch from the top of the stand because these rings are so big. If you have something smaller, you might want to move that up when you follow the tutorial and make this. And if you don't have rings, another thing you can do, so this is just a Tim Holtz clip. If you had just a normal binder clip, you could cover it with paper, and you can actually just clip them on the top as well. So let's get to it. Okay, so for our calendar desk organizer, at this point I haven't actually named it. I'm sure by the time I have the walkthrough it'll have a real name, so we're just gonna go with it. You need 2 pieces of chipboard 6x8 and 1 piece 6x3. So you can get all of this out of one sheet. You're just gonna cut your sheet in half, cut one piece to 8 inches, cut the other piece to 8 inches, and then with that last little 4x6 scrap, you're going to cut it to 3. Okay? We're going to wrap the 2 big pieces just like we would for an album cover. So I have cardstock that is 8x10. I am going to use my 1-inch spacers, assuming I can get them in here straight and pick them up, because apparently I have no coordination this morning. It's early, what can I say? Grab my little pick tool. And you're going to do, you can use wet adhesive, or you can use scor tape. For some reason I have washi tape all over my mat, and I don't know why. Okay, so we're going to use our 1-inch spacers. Go ahead and put that down. I'm going to get the other piece in here and get it down as well. Okay. And then the 3-inch piece, we're going to do that like we do our spine. So that piece is 8 by 6.5. That doesn't sound right. Should be 8 by 6. What did I do here? I made it too big. Actually, it's fine, because it'll be fine. Mine's just a little bit big, so we're actually going to slide it over, but because of the way this is going to wrap around, that's probably okay. So I actually did my piece 8 by 6.5. Really should just be 8 by 6, but if it's a little bit bigger, that's okay. I think I was talking to somebody when I was cutting this the other day, so I probably didn't do the math in my head right. So if you're using the Easy Wrap method to make an album and you're kind of going off on your own, you're not following somebody's tutorial, but you want to use that method, the way you figure your matting, your cardstock to wrap your spine is you take the width of your spine and you add 3 inches. For whatever reason, in my about half brain dead state the other night, because it was late and I was tired, I went 3.5. So there we go. Okay, I'm going to move that out of the way. And I'm going to grab my bone folder, just burnish this down onto the back. Yeah, see, that one's a little bit off, but it's okay. Ultimately, it's not gonna matter. Okay, so we're gonna work with our 2 big pieces first. So what you're gonna do is use your chipboard to fold this around. And if you've followed any of my tutorials in any of Tammy's, I'm not sure who else on the design team has been using this method. I think Kim has been. I'm not sure. So we're just going to fold that around. That still is not burnished down. But it's also not score tape. It's this other tape that I've had forever that I'm trying to use up. And sometimes it is not a fan of the chipboard. Initially, it takes it a minute to really get good and stuck. But if you're using score tape, which I highly recommend, you'll be fine. Okay. And I have hot glue all over my scissors, apparently, which I did not realize when I put them away for making my nice list keepsake box the other night. Ugh. Seriously, like everywhere. I did not notice that the other night. I wouldn't have put them away like that. Okay, so we're going to cut out those squares on the corners. And you're just going to cut on your score line. And once you've done that, you're going to fold in and check, make sure you don't have anything hanging out over the side. And if you do, you're just going to go ahead and miter that. Just your scissors against the side of your chipboard, tilt them out just slightly. And after you've done it a few times, you'll really kind of get a feel for it and have kind of an eye for where it needs to go. And then it goes really fast. Okay. I am going to take my quarter score tape, which is almost gone. I'll grab a new one. Hold on. And I'm going to just run this around the outside. my book. Oops, and there it goes. Find my end. There it is. And you can do just glue here. That's absolutely fine. I do like using both, just because then the tape makes it stick immediately and the glue holds it forever. I know you guys have heard me say this 1,000 times. Probably an order I placed the other day, which means any minute now somebody's going to come downstairs and come barging in here, not realizing I'm recording, because that's what they do. All right, so I'm going to burnish all of that down. And then we are going to wrap just like we would if we were making an album cover. Okay, I'm going to grab my glue, and I'm actually going to clean it really quickly before we get going here. Especially because that's really stuck in there. Oh my gosh. So all I have is just a pipe cleaner. I push it up in here and just twist that tip around on it. And that gets the gunk out. And then I'm going to stick my pen back in. And you'll notice, see how there's like gunk on the end of that? We get that out, then we should be able to get this back on, and our glue will come out with no problem. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and remove all the score tape from the sides. And then we're going to run our glue along next to our chipboard and get our squiggle in the middle. Use the bone folder, push it up against the side, and then over and down. Turn to the opposite end, and again down the chipboard. All right, there's our first one. Let's go ahead and do our second one. Flip it over. All right, and then let's go ahead and do this one. Start out the same way. We're gonna use the chipboard to fold and make those creases. Okay, and we're gonna cut out the corners again on the fold lines. And then again, we're going to check our mitering. Yeah, this one side's really long. I may have to throw it in the trimmer and cut it off because that's insane. Okay, so let me, actually I'm not even going to do it with the thing, I'm just going to do it with my scissors. It'll be fine. It's going to get covered over anyway, so it's not going to matter. Alright, so now that it looks more normal, we're going to just wrap our ends, not the sides. Okay, we're going to do the same thing, so we're going to go down the end. And over. And over. Okay, so we've got our two pieces that are the 6x8 that are wrapped. You need one piece that is 4 inches by 5 7/8. We're going to use that to attach these two together at the top. This one is going to go on the bottom. You're going to put the nice sides together because we're going to mat, of course, over this. And that way the inside, when it's sitting, you know, in its little tent shape here, the inside looks nice. Okay, so we're going to put it nice sides together. And we're going to figure out where we need our hole, because what we're going to do is we're going to have our ring, okay? And all I'm using for this, these are the rings that come with the Graphic 45 tags. Well, I never end up using these, so I've got a ton of these just scattered. I find them in things all the time. So I'm just going to use 2 of those, and that's what's going to come through on our top here to hold our calendar so that we're able to flip it, okay? So we need to go about 1/2 inch in, so we should be able to just use the normal crocodile. All right, so we're gonna line it up to that outside edge. And we're gonna go down the full inch because this is all gonna get covered up anyway, but it's not gonna matter. And I cannot tell you, I rarely use this because for some reason I have a tendency to hold my material, and somehow I have pinched the side of my finger in this. I can't even tell you how many times. I literally rarely use it because of that. I've created more blood blisters that way than I can even tell you. All right, so let's kind of line this up where it's going to go, because this is what I'm trying to figure out is how. Okay, let's go ahead and get one side wrapped. Okay, so this we are going to cut a piece to mat on the inside of this because we do need these to come around on the outside like so. Okay, so all I'm going to do is I am going to get glue all over this tab. I am going to go ahead and push it down flush against the chipboard, and then I'm going to stand it up because that's going to cause it to pull just a little bit so that it will stand up the way I want it to stand up. Okay? And then I can lay it back down flat and burnish that down. I'm going to do the same thing for the other side, and again we're putting the good side facing up. We're going to mat over this. Again, you're just going to pull up. Where those are going to meet in the middle. And then we'll burnish it down. Okay. So this is going to come up in the middle. We're going to have our hook, our rings that are going to come through. And we may have to do that. Okay, and they're going to come through like this. We are going to have this other piece that's going to, that basically they're going to come in here like so. And then come up this way. And that's going to be where our calendar sits, so you can flip your pages. We do have a piece that's going to come down over the top here. Okay. I did cut this at 4 inches. I don't think it quite needs to be 4 inches, but I did score it at 2 inches and 2 1/8. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take where that score line is. I'm going to put it in my trimmer, so that my score line is at 7/8, and I'm going to trim it off, and then I'm going to do it again on the other side with the other score line, the second score line at 7/8, and trim it off so it's shorter, because then once we have this matted, we have our rings in here, we can come in and put this, well, you're not going to put your glue your matting down all the way to the top until you get this in. But that way that's going to hold this closed so that it stays up and standing. I mean, you don't have to. You could leave it loose like that. It would be absolutely fine. But that way it's going to cover my second set of holes that I did not need, but I wasn't sure. And it's also going to reinforce this and hold this closed. So I'm going to set that aside. I'm going to take the rings back out. And then I am going to figure out which pattern paper we're using for sure, because I'm not positive. And I'll be right back. Okay, so before I get into the matting, actually, let me give you the measurements for your little flip pieces for your calendar. So these are 5 7/8 by 5. On scrapbookers, Tammy has the 2021 calendar that is the 4 twist sheet. So I've printed those, and what I did is I trimmed those on the sides as close to, like, right almost against that line for the box, as you can see here. See, there's just a tiny bit on the sides here. I did almost against the edge of the box on the bottom, and then they are 4 3/4 of an inch high. Okay, so as long as they're 4 3/4 high and they're the width of the boxes the way they print, you'll be fine. So let me just show you really quickly. I am going back to my Fiskars trimmer for this because I need that visual of where that line is. So I am literally just trimming those so you're right almost to the edge of that, outside edge of that box. Okay. On the bottom one, I'm doing the same thing. And then I'm turning it around, measuring to 4 3/4, and that should put me right at the bottom of the box above it. Okay. And then again to 4 3/4. And get a hold of them, and there you go. Sorry, my fingernails are kind of long, and literally everything is like static clinging to my desk today. All right, so I'm going almost against the edge of the box. Turn around, do the same on the other side. So when you do it up to the edge of the box, these end up being about 3.5 inches by 3 3/4 is what you're looking for. So whatever method you use that works to get them to that size, that's, so 3.5 by 4 3/4 is what your finished size should be. Okay. So December, November, September, October. So I have all of my months, and again, 3.5, 4 3/4. And if you cut just to the outside edge, just past the outside edge of the box on the sides and the bottom, then you can measure the 4 3/4 at the top, and it will be 3.5 inches wide. These are going to sit in the middle of our flip pages because the holes are going to be punched where they're just on either side of that for you to flip it. However, to make sure you're punching your holes the right size. So when we punched our holes on our base, they are in 1 inch from the side. Okay. And then it is the center of the hole is 1 inch down. So the top of the hole is 7/8 of an inch down. Okay. What I'm going to do is just take a scrap of paper. I'm going to line it up because this is the same width as my piece here. This is a scrap off of that, and I actually have drawn my holes on this one, but we'll do it again together. So I'm just centering it up here. I'm just going to hold it and lay this down flat, and then I'm going to take a pencil and I'm going to color in that entire circle that I cut out. And then I'm going to punch my holes on this, and this is going to be my template for these, and then you'll use it again for your matting. Maybe. Okay. So I'm just centering up that hole that I just drew that I can see through the top of my crocodile. And there I have a template so that I can take a couple of these at a time, stack them up, and line this up. So I think we need to go down about 1/2 inch maybe So what I would do is I would just take one of these. Actually, I don't think it was even 1/2 inch that I decided worked well. I think it was less than that. So, no, maybe it was 1/2 inch. Okay, so I am just going to measure 1/2 inch. And I'm just going to very lightly draw a line here. Okay. Then I'm going to take my template, line it up side to side here, and then see how you can just barely see my line through those holes. So I'm going to take my crocodile again. Once I clear out the little hole that you can see through, because of course it doesn't want to fall out there on its own. Okay. So I'm going to take my crocodile and I'm going to line it up where I can see the hole and my line, and I'm going to punch my hole. Okay. Do it again on this other side. Okay. So I've got one on here. Now I can erase my line. And then I can just stack up 2 or 3 or 4 of these, however many I think I can get the crocodile through, line it up again and punch them, and then they'll all be punched evenly so that they'll hang evenly and stack evenly on the front of our thing. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and punch this set of holes, and then I'll do the rest of them off camera and get my matting together. Okay, and honestly this thing punches well enough. I probably could have done all 12, but I didn't, and that's okay. Okay, so there you go. Those are evenly punched. This will go down right here in the center. So let's go ahead and do January. If you wanted to ink the edges of the calendar, if you wanted to print the calendar direct, well, no, that won't work. If you wanted to print the calendar onto colored cardstock, you absolutely could do that. That would be really cute too. All I'm going to do on the sides here is I'm just going to mat, just do a little strip and of some scrap of, I don't even know what yet. I may pull out a whole new paper collection. I may not. I may pull out like a little 6x6 pad, because for this matting these pieces, that would be perfect. And I am just going to center that between those holes, center it top to bottom. You will have about 1/8 of an inch top and bottom. And you're going to do that with all of those pieces, and then we'll just mat using scraps on the side here. Or you could leave it blank in case you wanted to write notes. It's entirely up to you. But I will punch the rest of these and get those on there and find my matting, and I'll be back. Okay, so we're going to make a pocket for the front of our calendar stand. So you need one piece 10 by 5.5. We're going to score this at 2 inches. Turn 2 inches. Turn 2 inches again, and then one more time. So 2 inches all the way around. Okay. And I realize this is craft, so it's kind of hard to see, but okay. Then with your 10 inch at the top of your scoreboard, you are going to score at 1/2 inch. But you're only going to go down to this score line. So we've got a score line here. And of course, I can't draw to save my life, so here we go. Score line here. We have a score line here. You're going to do your 1/2 inch just to this score line. Okay? See what I'm saying? And you're going to do the same thing on the other side. So here's our 8-inch, so we're going to go at 8.5 and score down 2 inches to that score line. I'm going to turn it around and do the same thing on the other side. Okay. You are then going to pick up my paper. You're going to cut on this score line up to the next score line. Okay, so here we've got our little 1/2 inch. You're going to cut down that 1/2 inch, and then you're just going to miter it ever so slightly at the top. Okay, so now you've got a tab here. You're going to have a tab on the other side. You're going to do the same thing on the other side. And then here, and then miter the top. Okay. So you're going to have those two. If you want, you can miter this just a little bit down at the bottom here. That's just going to ensure it's going to close up when we put those tabs in. It's going to close up without buckling. But this is what you should have. You're going to do the same thing on the other end. Alright, so I am going to erase my pencil marks because of course you don't need those. That was just so you guys can see what it is that I'm doing there. Okay, so we are going to fold and burnish on all of our score lines. Okay, I'm going to flip this over so that your bent edges are facing down towards your mat, and we're going to go ahead and mat the outside of this. So for my matting for this project, I did use Simple Stories Best Year Ever from last year. I never did get around to making a project with it because, you know, 2020 was kind of a nightmare and I just didn't get around to doing it. So just because it's got some fun little prints in the fun sticker sheet, that's why I decided to use this. You can use any paper you wanted to. I really had kind of toyed with doing this with my leftover dinosaur paper, and I might end up making a second one with that and giving it to my son because he loves having a calendar every year. In fact, I think I'm going to. So you'll probably see pictures of it as well. So you'll see we'll have one where it's kind of themed paper and one that's not. Okay, and then we're not going to mat this piece because this is going to attach to the front of our calendar. This is all going to come up and in. You can mat this on the inside as well if you would like. I don't think you need to mat this piece because the way this is going to close up, unless you're picking the calendar up and holding it and looking, you're not going to see it. But we do want to mat the bottom just to kind of reinforce it. So I've got just a little piece there that we're going to put in the bottom. And then really, we could mat those sides if we wanted to. I may end up matting them, we'll see. But for now, we're going to get glue on this tab. We're going to fold it up so you make a nice square corner. You're just going to fold that right up to that edge. thing on the other side. Okay, and then again. Okay. And you're probably wondering why we didn't mat this back inside right here. Because here's our front, here's our back. The reason for that is we're going to put it down on our box, or I'm sorry, on our calendar. And then when we mat this, we're actually going to mat this all the way down into the box. Okay. So I've gone ahead and done the back. I attached our small flap that has the 1/8 inch gusset, matted this, and then flipped it over, and of course used my crocodile to line up and punch my holes. I did mat my inside bottom. We need to now mat, or put our pocket down, and then we'll mat this. So what I'm going to do is kind of lay this like so I can kind of decide where I want to put it, because we do want it, it's going to go side to side, we do want it all the way to the bottom. Okay, and it'll be a little bit easier to line it up that way with it laying like this. Okay, get my glue on here. I'm going to line it up side to side, get it lined up along the bottom here. And once I get it where I want it, then I'm going to open this back up and burnish that down. Okay, so now the matting. So this will slide right down in here. That will mat the inside of our box on that corner, on that section, and it will also help hold it on here and make it look a little more seamless. However, what we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and put glue on here. We are not going to put glue on this top about 1.5 inches because we need to be able to tuck the other flap in here and glue it down, and then we can glue this down over the top. So what I've done is I just slipped it in here, kind of figured out, okay, it's going to sit about like this, and then I'm just holding my finger where I want the glue to stop for now. Okay. So that I don't get carried away, put glue over the whole thing, and then have to fold that tab over, and then it's a mess. Okay, slip that down in there. Okay, now we're going to flip this over, take the crocodile, and again we're going to line up through that little hole, punch our hole, and the other side. Okay, alright, so now we got our hole, and this is up to you how you want to do this. I want that little hinge piece on the inside, mostly so these can't turn and pull through, because they're not going to, it's not going to fit through that hole here. Okay, that way they're not turning and pulling through. However, it will be easier if you want to do it, if you don't want to do it that way, to get this all closed up and then feed your rings through. It's entirely up to you which way you want to do it. So I am going to feed mine through so that that hinge is on the inside, and two, this will actually make this sit on here permanently, and then every year you can just redo your calendar pages. You can keep using this year after year. Okay, so once those are on there, this is where it's going to be a little bit trickier. Let's do them one at a time, that would probably help. Okay, it's going to be on there, and you're going to have to just kind of force it through that hole back out onto the front. Okay, if I tore my paper just a tiny bit here, but it's very easy to just take my glue, get a little bit there, and just kind of push that back down. The calendar is going to be over that you're not going to see it anyway. Okay. And one more time. There we go. And then this piece is not glued all the way down yet. So we're going to stand this up. And this is where I'm saying it is easier to just feed these through after the fact, unless you want to make sure that this is permanent, in which case you're going to want to feed them through like I just did. Okay, so now we can pull this out. We can feed this underneath and glue it down. Okay, I've got everything lined up, pulling that down. And then we will glue the last of our matting down right there. Okay. Alright, so there's our matting glued down. Here's our box. I have gone ahead and matted my calendar pages. So what I can do at this point, I can leave them like this and go ahead and just put them on the rings. I did not mat the back sides of these, because what I could do at the end of the year is take all of this off, and I could use these in an album. I could use these on a scrapbook layout. You know, however I wanted, whatever I decided to do with them. Because I did have the sticker sheet from that collection, I did have the little month stickers. So all I did is just punched a 1-inch circle, put those on the ends here so that I can easily flip through if I need to find, you know, July and you know, somehow mark on here something that I need to keep track of. You know, I can very easily flip to the month I need. This is entirely optional. You don't have to do that. But I could go through here with my stickers from the sticker sheet and, you know, add some of these. Like for January, we've got this cute little snowman, so I could add him, you know, over here to the side, which I think I'm going to do because he's cute. And I mean, I could back him on cardstock and fussy cut him. I'm not going to. He's fine just like that. So I'm just going to open these up. I'm going to feed my calendar pages on here. Like so. Oops. And if you have smaller rings, you can use smaller rings, but there we go. Here's our calendar. We've got a nice big space here, so if you've got stuff that you want to keep with your calendar, and my Post-its have disappeared. I had them over here to kind of show you. You know, you can put a pen or two in here. You can put, you know, Post-it notes in there if you have them. And I've got like some little tiny ones I can stand in there. But that gives you somewhere to kind of put some other things in here that you may need or may, you know, want to have on hand. But there you go. There's our little calendar stand. You could add another pocket on the back here to store like birthday cards so you have them ready when you need to send them. But then this is just going to flip up and over every month, just like so. And there you go. When you get to the end of the year, you can take those off, make some new pages, and use it again. Thanks for watching. As always, when you make this, especially because this is for the New Year's Eve crop, you will, if you make this project, you will want to share it in the Scrapbookers of Country Craft Creations New Year's Eve crop group. There's going to be some drawings and things for that. But there you go. There is my project. Super easy. Thanks for watching.